Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Splash with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Buckchester. You know what I like to do on the show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want to get you fired up about food. My guest today is author Margaret Kalu, and she has written the book My African Restaurant Adventure, Branding Afro Flavor. Now, if you are interested in food in any way, and especially eating internationally, then today is going to be a treat for you. Now, the challenges of African restaurant owners face at home and in the diaspora in branding African cuisine, many people do not realize the ins and outs, the ups and downs that they go through to make sure that it is appealing for each country and not only state in which they are branding. So let me tell you a little bit more about Margaret. She is the author of 2 books, My African Restaurant Adventure, Branding Afro Flavor, and Eat with Pleasure, Celebration of Food. She is also a nutrition coach and food blogger. She lives in London, UK with her family. She would describe herself as a foodie who loves to cook, share food videos, and write about food, as well as sharing recipes on her blog and website. Each meal that she cooks, she explains, she has explored different recipes, and it couldn't be more adventuresome, as you can imagine. She always tries to create her personal recipes with different ingredients. She likes to kind of be creative, but at the same time explore all of the various flavors that could be included so that you don't always have to stick with the mainstream. As an author, she says, she uses her books to create more awareness in African cuisine that have been marginalized over the years due to a lack of diversity in the food industry, where mainstream is leading and being celebrated more or less than recognized and celebrated, and some are even barely noticed. Her mission, she says, is to target diverse food lovers who might love to try and taste African cuisine, to challenge their taste buds. And who knows, that adventuresome one, you may even learn to try your new dishes. So her book, she says, is just the culinary repertoire that you may need. So try some indigenous foods and do not restrict the ethnicity in which you are able to access your palate. Now, you guys know what I'm about to say. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. I want to say good morning, good morning, good morning to you, Margaret. Thank you so much for joining me today on the show.
Really excited. Really excited. I'm actually chuffed.
Yes, I love that you are able to be on with me today. So I have to ask you, with all that I read there in your bio, was there a particular age where you realized that food could be more than just something that we eat, but when did food turn into something fun and exciting to you?
Oh, as a child, I've always loved food. I've always hung around the kitchen. I was always the last to leave the dining table. I was such a curious little girl, loving her food.
And, you know, I think that is a part of our culture. I think that is just a part of who we are. Even as, I like to say, American Africans, that we are still, we still carry on some of the traditions, some of the bits of culture, even though it is unknowing to us many times, that is a part of who we are as Africans who live in America. And I love that we have continued to carry that on. Now, don't get me wrong, other cultures do it as well. but I think that that's something that really continues to bind us to our mother continent. Now, when did you find out that you were able to express your ideas and your thoughts as an author? When did you realize, you know what, my words have power even if they're written words?
Well, what they say is powerful, and besides that, food itself is always central to any conversation. Food makes conversation very, very interesting, and you won't believe that when people are really tucked into their food, the conversation flows. So you get very, very interested. As a child, I've always been very interested in joining the adult on a table and have a good food conversation, not like a foodie conversation. So that, I think that's actually affected my life as an adult. So I grew up having a fun food conversation with my children, and we are sitting in the kitchen, chatting around the table, cooking. They're talking food. We have become adventurous. Personally, I become very, very much adventurous in the sense that I try different recipes that I'm not even interested on, and I try different things that I get fed up with one particular recipe at a time. So I become terribly, terribly adventurous and never give up any recipe, or even if I get a little bored with it, I'll reinvent another one. So that actually, I think that became central to my life, and plus the fact that I've always loved writing. I've been writing right from very, very little as a child, and then that made me got really, really into food, and also using my maybe a talent in writing to write about food. So it's been escalating over the years, something I've always wanted to do. And then I found a niche, and the niche that I actually found was the fact that I realized there was a lack of diversity in the mainstream, where an African cuisine has been sidelined. In other words, it wasn't recognized or given the due respect that it should really, really get. And I also realized maybe in a way I should be the literal voice, not that others haven't written books. They have written books, but I don't think the book they've actually written has actually made, a difference or made a bigger impact so much as my book. So in other words, I then found myself as someone capable of giving African cuisine a culinary identity in order to create that awareness.
I love that. I love that. Now, were there any particular challenges that you found in writing My African Restaurant Adventure Branding Afro Flavor? Were there any challenges in not only the writing process, but the process of also becoming a published author with that book?
Well, the challenges, if I'm honest, were many. Food, well, let's just say the interview, because I had to interview the restaurant owners, and the major problem I actually came across was or confronted with was the lack of access to information, in the sense that they were reluctant to open up. Food business is a very sensitive business, in the sense that you don't really, putting myself in their situation, I don't think anyone would be willing to open up and discuss food as a business, and also based on the kind of question they would have realized I could possibly ask. So in other words, it was a very sensitive area, and they weren't in the position to open up. They were very, very reluctant. So that itself was a big challenge for me, to be for not able to get the right information that I needed from them.
I meant to ask you this question before, and it's a question that I always ask my authors who are on, and that's about the title of your book. Many times people say that the title will come to them first, and they write around that. Others will say, I was writing, and then the title kind of presented itself out of the writing. how did you determine what the title of your book was going to be?
Well, if I'm honest, I did struggle with the title because I went one title after the other and I dropped them, and suddenly I came by this title. What actually inspired me, if I'm honest, is I wanted to draw attention to its ethnicity, Afro Flavor, which simply means African flavor or African taste, native taste. So I also focus on the adventurous side of me, being the curious person, terribly curious I am. So my interest in exploring certain subjects, which is also daring to find out more about unusual subjects, perhaps bordering on an adventure. So that's how I came by my African restaurant adventure, which has been an incredible experience writing the book. Again, the content is adventurous as it gets, such that branding becomes central in the narratives. As reader would later find out, is actually the theme of the book. Better still, I should hope the title of my book arouses the interest for food lovers keen on exploring unfamiliar tastes, while African cuisine is at the cusp of transitioning into the mainstream in the food industry. So I had to pick a title that is catchy. You understand what I mean?
That is true, and especially with so many books competing with other books up on the shelves, or even if we're checking it out on Amazon, it does need to be something that's going to catch the attention. I have to agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to, even though I asked about challenges, I want to give an opportunity to talk about the happy times as well. Did you have any moment that you found that you were, happy, overjoyed, elated, just outright just joyous because a certain something had happened, be it that it was a completion of a chapter or the fact that now you have your book in your hand? Can you tell us what were some of your happy moments with this book?
Oh, the happy moments. The thought of writing and finishing a book that has finally become a reality. That was the dream come true. And then I've met people, not just restaurant owners. I've also met friends with pop-ups, like the food trucks. You have the young guys selling on the street, their mobile food trucks. They tell you their stories, and my eyes pop out. I get excited. I've met market traders, fishmongers, farmers, people from different walks of life. I've joined a queue where we all wait to be served on the street. What could be more exciting than that? I'm standing on the street to eat, something I really do, and I was loving it. But overall, the book being the final product made it worth all the challenges I faced. And, of course, my fans, friends, and family, they've been leaving positive feedbacks on my blog, which is quite encouraging, and has given me immense confidence for future projects. I have so many projects. Time and finance permitting. So this is just the beginning of more projects ahead if time and finance will permit me, in other words, if I'm in the position, to fund more projects in the future. So who knows? Yeah, I have no regrets. Despite any setback, which I've had so many problems, but that is nothing compared to the way I felt when I completed the book. And I've made friends as well.
Margaret, it is time for us to go to break, but before we do, I want to ask you, can you remind everyone what is the title of your book, where can we pick up a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
The title of my book is African Restaurant Adventure, Branding Afro Flavor. You can get a copy at Amazon, online, Barnes& Nobles, or you can Google search to your nearest bookshop, and you should be able to obtain it from them or order in advance.
I love it. Alrighty, listeners, now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for our Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. You know who I am, Dr. Angela Butchester. My guest today is Margaret Kalu, and she has written the book, My African Restaurant Adventure, Branding Afro Flavor. That's right. If you are a foodie, then today is the day for you. Now, Margaret, I have just a few more questions for you, and the first one is, with the book, so many times people want to read for information. You know, they want to read for knowledge, and some people want to just read simply for pleasure. For the person who wants to do a little bit of both, they want to learn something and they want to have fun doing it, what can someone learn from your book?
Well, I've got a specific message in the book for everyone, not just for restaurant owners. The book is quite handy for everyone to read and enjoy. The most important thing for everyone to do is, if you're a food lover, then I highly recommend the book to try a bit of African taste, African native taste. Book lover will reach on and have an active accessible social media, if they can get to any restaurant or check in on any African restaurant around them, and then try a taste of African cuisine, see what they can like. And then they also need to bring their friends and then make sure they enjoy the day, or book in advance. I think most African restaurants, you don't really need to book in advance. You can just do a walkthrough, and then you get seated and get incredible hospitality. You'll be entertained. You will enjoy. They are very friendly. It's a very friendly atmosphere, very friendly ambience. So you always enjoy yourself. So what we can learn from the book basically is that food, African food, as a genre on its own, it's something it's not just for African. It's for other nationals to enjoy, and then explore and see a bit of African culture in the food.
You know, as someone who is, I like to call an international foodie, I love food. That is a blessing that I feel it is a blessing that my parents introduced the various cuisines of the world to me. One easy way is that we started eating of the ethnicities in which we knew that we were a part, so that it was a part of your culture. And it was such a beautiful way to explore our earth, you know, a beautiful way to explore the various cultures. Now, not everyone, you know, knows what makes up their DNA, but for those who do, I think it is a beautiful way to be able to eat and figure out, like you said, what you like, you know, and each place has something that's unique to them. And I think that as people of color in particular, we are going to be quite surprised that we do like foods of other locations, even if we have to make it ourselves. I think that's a great way for us to, you know, have family moments even. You know, let's eat from a different place and see how we like it. Now, what makes your book unique from other books out there? Someone's going to say, well, Dr. Angela, I hear you and Margaret talking, but there are other cookbooks out there. There's other books that are telling us we should, you know, eat through the continent. So my question is, what do you say to those folks that say, yeah, Margaret, what makes your book different?
In all seriousness, this is a very unique book, and I tell you why. Probably, first time is thorough and in-depth research has been done on African restaurants at home and in diaspora. The book has already achieved a unique review score of 4 out of 5 by New York, I think it's New York journalist by the name Barry Silverstein. So I got score 4 out of 5, which is excellent to me. It's excellent because I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that.
Absolutely.
And also I took a bold step to address daring issues, food, what most food critics wouldn't even dare to venture to ask or write about. So despite too many underlying problems restaurant owners are facing, I also made sure that I actually highlighted insightfully the problem where they are unable, to be celebrated along with the mainstream. I illustrated. I gave instances. I gave examples. I also encouraged them, despite my criticism, constructively, though. I also advise, I also give a layout of what they need to do in order to excel. There was a lot of emphasis on lack of diversity, where the food African cuisine has been marginalized, unrecognized, and the reason why they are sidelined. What I did in the book was to advocate that food should be accessible to all, not just restricted to a particular food culture. So that makes it very unique. And also call on leading supermarkets that they should also stock African food as they currently stock Chinese, Greek, Indian, Japanese, Spanish, paella, etc. I question, why can't mainstream supermarkets stock African foods such as jollof rice, yam, plantain, water leaf, okazi? The list goes on. So this is where I've actually made a mark in the sense that I've addressed those issues that nobody cares about to talk about, even to research. So I took a bold step to address it in my book, and that's why it's unique.
And you really hit on something there, because I noticed that how do I say, being in a major city, being in Long Beach in Los Angeles County, you were exposed to so much more. You, like you said, you saw the African markets, the Indian markets, the poly markets. You were able to go to an individual market if that's what you were looking for. But when we got to the larger chains, it was so much more restricted to what you were able to pick up. But let's kind of zoom out a little bit, and you go to a place where you visit family in, let's say, Virginia or North Carolina or Delaware, and you don't have that same option, or you have to drive so far. To get that. And you are so correct on that. And I don't think that people think about that until it's something that you want or it's something that you need. And being able, when you live in a metro area, there are so many advantages to that, because you do get that, the uniqueness of certain spices that you just can't get someplace else. And the food doesn't taste the same because you don't have that authentic spice that needs to go in the dish. To bring out that flavor. I have to agree with you on that. My son one day asked, how come a particular dish that I made when I would visit my parents in Virginia, how come it didn't taste quite the same? And I told him, because we were able to go to those markets and get those spices, and they didn't have it here. And he went, that totally makes sense. I was like, absolutely, absolutely. Like, people don't think about the different types of paprika that you have and how that can really make a difference. So thank you for mentioning that. Now, for someone who may be of a younger generation and that they're just starting their families and they're trying to incorporate new traditions, they're trying to decide, what do we want to bring from our parents, but what do we also want to explore as new parents and create for our children? What advice would you give to younger generations on incorporating different foods into their traditions?
I'll urge a younger generation not familiar with our food culture to explore more. I think a lot of them, or majority of them, are very reluctant. They're kind of laid back, McDonald's, KFC, and the rest of it. Food is our culture, or food is part of our culture. They need to visit African restaurants more, try, taste, and enjoy, cook differently from what they are used to, then be more adventurous, re-educate their taste bud. The millennials, those are the ones with disposable incomes. They are fine diners. They are regular at restaurants, other restaurants. Why can't they try African restaurants? They should also try African restaurants like a taste of Africa. They will be surprised at the hospitality and fine food that awaits them. The ambience is very friendly. The music is different. So it's good to try this thing. This is what I've always encouraged the younger generation. While they are enjoying other food outlets, they should also try going to food festival. I think that's the first point of all. They need to engage in food festival where diverse food are showcased to entice people from different cultural backgrounds. And also, food shouldn't be restricted for adults to decide for the young ones. They need to explore it themselves. They have access to social media. They have access to food blog. I'm a food blogger. I showcase food that I probably seen somewhere or food that I've cooked. I'm always sharing food from my kitchen. I do it as often as I can. And I also look into other food outlets. Instagram is just mapped with food. You see all sorts of food. So younger generation should also focus and explore different ways. And they mustn't forget African cuisine must always be on the agenda.
I love it. I love it. It is. You have given so much great advice there. We have to not be afraid to explore and to. How do you know what you like or what you don't like if you've never tried it? And for any of my metro people that live in a metropolis, please visit the little Ethiopias, visit the little Nigerias, the little Ghanas that are in your area, the little Ivory Coast. Visit those places because you will be surprised at how much you actually like something, and you were afraid before because you just didn't know. You just didn't know, but now that you know, you will be helping not only a small business, but it will also bring just that extra bit of culture and knowledge and understanding into yourself. I love it. I love it. Margaret Kalu, thank you so much for spending time with me today. You talked about one of my favorite topics, and that is food. I love to eat. I love to eat internationally, so I have enjoyed spending my time with you today. We have about a minute left in the show, so I want to just kind of open it up. Is there any last bit of wisdom or anything that you would like to share with our listeners?
Well, let me just share this with these restaurant owners, if they're listening. They need to adapt to change. They need to have a constant social media presence in their restaurant. They shouldn't be afraid to remix, even modify it in order to entice other nationals. They shouldn't, there's nothing wrong in mixing grandma recipe with foreign recipe. Call it what you like. After all, you created it. Food lovers are hungry for new taste. Use social media. Make food more accessible. Share your photos, videos, food videos, live from your kitchen. I do it often. Make it enticing and interesting. Encourage healthy options as well. Think about the vegans, vegetarians, diabetic, children's menu. So you need to explore. You need to target the right audience and then broaden your food business and bring it to a wider audience that are waiting to embrace whatever you have on offer for them. So it shouldn't be restricted just for Africans. No, you need to explore other markets and then target your audience. Make it wider, not just narrow it to Africans. That's all you need to do.
I love it. Such a great bit of advice there. Thank you again, Margaret, for being on the show. If you can, one last time, if you can remind everyone, what is the title of your book and where can we pick up a copy?
My book title is called My African Restaurant Adventure, Branding Afro Flavor. My African Restaurant Adventure, Branding Afro Flavor.
I love it. And as always, everyone, you can pick up a copy on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and, of course, you can always order at your local bookstore. If you look for the ISBN number, simply go to Amazon, copy that down, get it to your local bookstore, and patronize a small business. Again, thank you, Margaret, for being on the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And listeners, thank you for tuning in as well. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.